Every Sunday morning, Ethan sat by the same window. The world outside moved on, but inside, time still waited for her. Her photograph watched him as he wrote. The wooden box beside it held every unsent letter, each one a heartbeat trapped in paper. He wrote slowly, like the pen carried his pulse. Every word he wrote was something he never got to say while she was here. When the words were done, he folded the paper with trembling hands, not because it hurt to remember, but because he still cared enough to. He placed the letter in the same wooden box beside all the others. Some people heal by forgetting. Ethan healed by remembering. He wrote again the next Sunday, same table, same light, same silence. Routine had become his only company, and the sound of pen on paper was the closest thing he had to peace. But that day, he stopped mid-sentence. The words wouldn't come. Some feelings can't be written, only carried. A soft breeze slipped through the window, playful, almost alive. It lifted the paper gently, as if the wind had been waiting for this moment all along. Before he could reach it, the letter drifted out into the light, floating higher and higher until it became a tiny white memory against the sky. For the first time in 2 years, something he wrote had finally left the room, and for reasons he couldn't explain that made him smile. The letter floated through the morning air, turning, spinning, alive, like it finally had something to say. It drifted over rooftops, crossed empty streets, and danced above the quiet fields. The world seemed to pause, as if watching something sacred in motion. It passed the clock tower, brushed past the baker's window, and slipped through the busy town unnoticed. A memory moving through people who'd already forgotten how to remember. And then, after miles of silence, the wind grew still. The letter landed softly on a doorstep, as if it had finally found someone who needed to read it. A hand picked it up, not hers, but someone else's. And just like that, a letter meant for the past had found its way into the future. A week later, something unusual happened. There was an envelope in his mailbox. No name, no address, just his handwriting staring back at him. He brought it inside, hands trembling. It couldn't be hers. It shouldn't be anyone's, but somehow, it was. He opened it slowly, just one sentence, written in the same ink he used to write hers. He stared at the words for a long time, not because he wanted answers, but because, for the first time, he didn't need them. A letter he wrote for the past had been answered by the future, and somehow, both sides of his story finally met in peace. He looked at her photograph, not to miss her this time, but to thank her for the years that had shaped him. For the first time, the sunlight felt different, not like a memory of her, but like a message from her. He smiled softly, realizing he didn't have to stop loving her to move on. He only had to stop hurting for her to keep living. The window was open again. The wind passed through, not taking anything this time, but leaving something behind. Peace. Ethan opened the wooden box once more. He didn't see pain anymore. He saw proof that he loved deeply enough to heal. That night, Ethan sat at his desk once more. Same chair, same pen, same silence. But this time, his hands didn't shake. He began to write again. Not to her, not to the past, but to the man who had survived both. Dear Ethan, he wrote, you don't need to let her go. Just stop holding yourself hostage to what's already gone. When he finished, he blew out the candle. The smoke curled upward, and for the first time in years, the darkness felt gentle. He folded the letter and placed it inside the empty box, not as a goodbye, but as a promise to live again. The next morning, sunlight touched his face before the alarm could. He woke up feeling free. He opened the window, and the world felt new again. The same wind that once took his letter now brought him peace. He poured his coffee, sat by the window, and watched the world move. Not ahead of him this time, but with him on the table. The box sat open, empty, quiet, and finally at rest. Like him, some stories don't need to end. They just need a new chapter. And for Ethan, this was it. You can't mail the past, but you can still deliver peace to yourself. Letters he'll never send.